Congressman,
right.
we got to leave it there, but we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Leland.
Good to see you. That is the night sky in Kabul. The Taliban celebrating their victory with gunfire and rocket fire. As you can see, they call it full independence. The terrorist organization now controls Afghanistan. The White House says there are somewhere more than 100 but less than 200 Americans in Afghanistan. And as the congressman just said, they're at the mercy of the Taliban. In the end, getting them out might come down to military options or certainly with the help of America's intelligence operations. Lieutenant General Jerry BOYKIN, former U.S. Delta Force commander and ran America's military intelligence apparatus, joins us, sir. We appreciate you being here with us. I listened to the briefings both at the Pentagon and then from the State Department and from the White House, for that matter. Do you get the feeling that we even know where all the Americans are?
No, I don't believe the figure that they've put out of 200 Americans. I don't believe that at all. First of all, they don't know how many Americans are there. They don't know how many are left. And they said that from the very beginning. So there are, I can assure you, more Americans and others that we pledged to get out than the 200 that have been acknowledged by the State Department.
Yeah, for sure, a lot more of our Afghan allies in the thousands, if not tens of thousands. This is Antony Blinken talking about why the Taliban should not be trusted, but we'll do what we want. Take a listen. We don't have the soundbite. Basically, they say that we don't trust the Taliban, but we're relying on the Taliban to act in their self-interest, and it's in their self-interest to keep their promises and let all the Americans leave. Don't worry. Is that a safe bet?
I think not.
Okay.
You know, Leland.
Let me ask you, let me turn it on its head. Is there any historical data or reference that would make it even a reasonable bet, much less a safe one?
No, no, certainly not with the Taliban. All of this has been I think, a facade to begin with. This whole idea that we were going to be able to trust the Taliban, and the Taliban was now acting as our allies, and that we were relying upon the Taliban. We turned over the airport to the Taliban. We expected the Taliban to control the flow of Americans and others into that airport so that we could get them out. Leland, this is a time when we as Americans need to reflect on who we are. Who are we? Are we a nation of values, or are we a nation of honor? I heard a commentator today say that we left honorably. We did not leave honorably. We didn't leave honorably. We left Americans behind, and we left allies behind. We didn't leave honorably. Are we going to be a nation of honor, or what are we going to be? Are we going to be this woke military and woke State Department? I am so disappointed in my government right now that, Leland, I've got to tell you that I'd do anything in the world to be able to get over there and try and help these people.
You know, General, you and I have talked for a number of years, and I remember at times you sort of disagreed, even strongly disagreed with some of the things the Obama administration did. You were quite vocal about it. I've really never heard this kind of emotion in your voice. It feels as though it's really challenged your feelings about what our country is.
Leland, I don't have words to describe what I feel right now. It's a heartbreaking situation, but this is about the values of this country. It's about who we are as a nation. Leland, this is a turning point in history.
Yeah, well,
and this turning point is a matter of who are we as Americans? Who are we as a constitutional republic?
Yeah. The idea of America not keeping its word is hard. I want to at least give the State Department the chance to explain themselves, and you can pick up why you think they're wrong. Here's Antony Blinken.
We will hold the Taliban to its pledge to let people freely depart Afghanistan. The Taliban is committed to let anyone with proper documents leave the country in a safe and orderly manner.
So the Taliban now is very different than the Taliban was in 2001 when we first fought them. Congressman Waltz pointed that out. Here's some of the equipment that they now have. Helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft. We have a graphic from the New York Times that laid it out. 22,000 Humvees, 8,000 trucks, 162,000 radios, 16,000 night vision goggles. The list goes on and on and on. What of that concerns you the most if America has to act again in Afghanistan?
Yeah, you know, I think that probably their mobility is what worries me the most. Previously, they ran around in Toyota pickup trucks with a 50 caliber mounted on the back, and now they're going to have the same things, the Humvees that we used for mobility when we were fighting against them, and I think that's a real plus for their army. Look, if you look at it realistically, they have one of the most modern armies now in the world. I mean, the equipment that we left them was state of the art. Yeah, we certainly did some things that would make them less effective on the battlefield than some of our things. We've had a program for that kind of thing for many, many decades, but nonetheless, they still have a very modern, well-equipped army right now.
There's nothing that you've said that makes, I think, anybody feel better listening to it in terms of reassurance. I'll ask you the same question I asked the congressman. President Biden speaks tomorrow. Notably, he didn't speak today. Is there anything he could say that would reassure you?
Yeah, you don't want to hear what I have to say in response to that, but no, I think that it's too late. I think the commander-in-chief has failed at every step. Every decision that he's taken has been the wrong decision. He has reversed himself multiple times. And at this point, what can he say? I can't think of anything that he could say that would make me personally, or I think the majority of the American public, feel any better about the way we left and the price that we paid, not only in terms of lives, but also in terms of our prestige and the image that the world has of us right now.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about that image around the world, both how our allies view us and how our enemies view us in a couple of minutes. General, we appreciate your time and your analysis over the past couple of weeks, and we're going to have you back later in the week to see what you think of the president's speech.
Thank you, Leland.
Thank you, sir. We want to take a minute now to introduce you to the last casualties of America's longest war. The 13 service members killed while overseeing the evacuations at Kabul